I'm Tanya Singer. I'm here today to talk with two real-life Chutzpah girls, the authors of this book, Julie Silverstein and Tami Schlossberg Pruwer. Welcome to Beautifully Jewish.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be here.
My pleasure. So what is Chutzpah Girls and how did you decide to create this beautiful book?
Mm.
Great. I'll take the question. First of all, Tanya, thank you so much for having us. We love your podcast, and we feel so honored to be here to talk about Chutzpah Girls. Chutzpah Girls is our love letter to Jewish women, and it stemmed from our own personal experiences. I'm a mother. I have five children, and it all started for me when my two oldest had their bar and bat mitzvahs. My son had his bar mitzvah, and then about a year and a half later, my daughter had his. And for those who have both sons and daughters, Tanya, I know that you do. It was this sort of window into the world of smachot. And when I had two side by side, it was this portal into kind of the way that we think about our girls and boys, even today in this generation. So after my son had his bar mitzvah, he received a whole series of what we call like Sifrei Kodesh, holy books. He got a Tanakh, and he got a personalized Siddur, and he got a machzor set for the high holidays. And then a few months later, when my daughter had her bat mitzvah, and she did all the same things that my son had done, read the Torah, led services, gave a Devar Torah, she got jewelry and handbags. And I it was that sort of experience as a mother to see two children who had put in, equal effort into their b'nai mitzvah and their community, which I'd always regarded as being very intellectual, very progressive, highly educated. Treating my two children very differently. It was really an eye opener. And we know gifts, beautiful objects, they're an expression of our values. And what these objects were saying to my son was, we want you to go out into the world and to educate yourself and to be successful. And what they were saying to my daughter, even in this time, is that, we want you to be beautiful and to be lovely, to be demure. And we want you to find a husband. And I think it was this this really dissonant experience that led me to want to create a different kind of object, a different kind of book, something that we could give to our daughters and even our sons at their b'nai mitzvah, that speaks to a deeper set of values, that speaks to the heritage that we have and the kind of young people that we want them to grow up to be.
And,
That
thank you, Julie. I'll just add to that. Tanya, I think just like many women in our generation, I have these matriarchs in my family, these women with larger than life legacies. I mean, I was fortunate enough to know both of my great grandmothers. One of them was, a single mom of three. She'd been widowed at a young age, and she ended up being the first woman in Seattle the first Jewish woman to open a business there and to obtain a driver's license. And she invested all of her earnings into ensuring her children would have a Jewish education. She could have been crushed by her reality, but she chose to stand up and face the challenge. At the same time, my other great grandmother was in Europe, fleeing from the Nazis with her young family, petitioning to have her husband join them. And so, I grew up with these stories of these Jewish women who were remarkable. And then when I became a mother, I was reading these little feminist books to my daughter, and the stories of Jewish women were missing. I think modern literature had caught up for children. The stories of women were being included, but the stories of Jewish women were missing. And I thought that maybe that experience was unique to myself, but the more we were speaking to people, the more we realized that this was an experience that many Jewish women were having. We were actually recently at a conference in the US where a woman who lives in Jerusalem walked up to us, and she said that she was looking at different high schools for her daughter who was just about to start high school. And she was sitting in the principal's office at one of the leading religious high schools for girls in Jerusalem. And the principal had a picture of Rosa Parks in the background. And she was curious about that. And she asked her why she specifically chose Rosa Parks. And, the principal just answered saying, I really couldn't think of any female Jewish role models that inspired me and that I wanted to hang in my office. And so we realized that there was, a gap in the market here, that there was something missing. And Julie and I started researching. And of course, there are some iconic women that we have all heard of, but we came across the most remarkable stories of women who have really changed the world and made a tremendous impact, and nobody had ever heard of them. And so we decided that those stories needed to be told.
We have in the back of the book a page where you can write your own chutzpah story and where you can draw your own chutzpah portrait. And the reason that we did that is because we want every reader to feel that they are very much a part of this lineage of strong, daring Jewish women, that these are not extraordinary women and that we're somehow ordinary and will never be like them. The women in the book, by and large, were not born into privilege. They were not born leaders. They found themselves in extraordinary moments of challenge, and they had to draw on their daring, their strength, their creativity, and their chutzpah to overcome it. And I think it's perhaps helpful just to also pull out and to give a broader explanation of what this book is, what it's all
Please do.
about.
Please do.
So the book Chutzpah Girls is it's 100 tales of daring Jewish women. We include 100 single-page stories of remarkable daring Jewish women from the Torah, from the Tanakh, these biblical women, all the way through today. And it's not written in a chronological order, it's alphabetical order. So you have this experience of encounter. You're encountering women from the past and women from the future. You're drawing connections between them. The women are from every professional field and discipline. They're artists and dancers and mathematicians and scientists, and they're from over 33 different countries. They are from all over the world. And as you said, there are women there that you expect to be in there. You have Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you have Golda Meir, but that there'll be many women in the book that you've never heard of, and that was important to us because we wanted to surface and shed light on stories that were lost to history.
And Tanya, just to allude to your point, I think the most moving feedback that we've received is women reaching out to us, telling us, you have to hear my grandmother's stories or my great-grandmother's stories or my aunt. Everybody has a chutzpah girl in their family. And I think, you pointed out beautifully how this intergenerational element that is woven through the book also exists within our families. And that is really what we were trying to encourage girls to do when they write their own story, to look back into their own family and to realize what a powerful heritage they come from, and then what a powerful lineage we all have in our families, and connect to that strength.
This time is calling on us to have more chutzpah. And I think what's been amazing about Torah and reading our sources now more than ever is like, it's actually, it helps you see yourself in the bigger picture, which is also what you're doing. And really see yourself in like this whole literal timeline of Jewish history, of the building of our people. And there's so much I could say because I do love the beautiful timeline. You have all these beautiful devices throughout the book. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that because there's a lot that you've done structurally to sort of create that feeling of serendipity where it's like, oh, Abigail. And then, but also to place Abigail in time. And you have this really beautiful, almost like a board game, like Chutes and Ladders. It's not Chutes and Ladders, but it feels almost like a board game, sort of going through the timeline. It's illustrated, it's gorgeous. And there's just all these cues throughout that really help you find yourself in time, in space. And you mentioned 33 different countries. It's really masterful in how you built it. And maybe you could talk a little bit about the craft of like the actual design of this book and how you came up with the plan. Like you didn't just have one illustrator, you worked with many illustrators. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, we really felt like we didn't just want to write these stories, but we wanted to celebrate these women and their stories. We wanted to bring them to life in the boldest and most exciting way possible. And we wanted the book to be by Jewish women and about Jewish women. So we worked with 12 female Jewish artists around the world, each, contributing in their own unique and vibrant styles, which was such an experience in and of itself. Some of the artists ended up having personal connections to the women that they depicted. For example, Donna Grazia Nassi, who was a Jewish woman in the Middle Ages, a powerful businesswoman who fled the Inquisition and then helped rescue hundreds of Jews from Spain and Portugal. Her portrait was created by Tilla Crown, who's an artist based in the UK, and Tilla belongs to a Sephardi community, a Sephardi shul in London, which was established by descendants of the Jews that were saved by Donna Grazia Nassi. So you have these two Jewish women, 500 years apart, but inextricably linked through this extremely powerful connection. And there were a number of these really just incredible and moving connections that happened between the artists and the portraits themselves. We also felt, you alluded to the fact that the space is limited for the stories, and there's these lives were so much more colorful and richer than what we were able to depict in 250 words. And so we wanted to create something that would allow the reader to enter the woman's world and connect to her beyond the words, transcend the words, and really get a feel of the woman's life, which is something that the art really did beautifully as well. And I think, you mentioned how diverse the women in the book are, and connecting that back to your point about chutzpah, we really wanted the reader to feel that chutzpah doesn't just mean one thing. You don't have to be loud to have chutzpah. You can be loudly fierce, you can be quietly fierce, you can use the power of the word, you can use the power of the pen. There are many different ways to be a chutzpah girl. There isn't just one way. And so that element of diversity was important to us as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I've been following your book since the beginning, because I worked on Tablets Hanukkah Bazaar, and I think I was messaging you that day from the bazaar as I watched the Corn Publishing table just get clear. Like, there were so many copies of Chutzpah Girls, and they were gone. There was nothing left. I actually had to order my own book because I didn't grab one early in the night, and it was really fun to see it fly. So I've been following your journey, and now I see through your Instagram that the art is traveling, and I wondered if you could talk a little bit more about the exhibition that comes from all this beautiful art.
Sure. So all of the art that's in the book, these 100 portraits, are digitized and available to come to your community, whether it's your JCC or federation, synagogue, day schools, or your local libraries, public spaces. We've made it very affordable and very accessible, and we're able to customize the art to the format and the dimension that you want. The exhibit right now is at UJA in New York. So if you're there for a meeting, make sure to go check it out. It's in Atlanta, and soon it will be in a few other cities by you.
I love it.
So
I
please
think
be in
it's
touch.
I want it everywhere. Is there a plate, like, is there, I hate this word, but is there merch? Are there t-shirts? Like, how
Yeah.
can we make this
Well,
art our own?
sure. Well, I mean, really, we're on a mission to promote Jewish women's visibility, and we're doing it through the book. We're doing it through this traveling art exhibit. And given all of the attention that the book has received, fortunately, we decided to open a shop. We have over 100 different proudly Jewish products, from the art in the book to t-shirts and mugs and tote bags and hats and even doggy clothes and everything in between. And the proceeds are going to support tzedakah. So, we wanted to leverage the attention and the interest and the momentum behind the book to continue to do good, and to continue to draw attention to Jewish women's issues and Jewish women's stories. The tzedakah that we're raising is going to the Devorah Institute, which is the commission in Israel, which is investigating and shedding light on stories of abuse and sexual violence that happened to women and to children on October 7th. And I think, this has been obviously a very challenging moment. Tammy and I both live in Israel, and I think that this book has come into our own lives in a way that um, has uh, has transformed us as well. And I think that there is a need right now for serious stories and also proudly Jewish content. And so I think we feel very fortunate to be able to put this book out into the world right now and to be able to leverage the interest in it to be able to put out all of this these beautiful Jewish products
And
I
I'll just
can't.
Custom
add to
Jewish
that that
products.
the portraits are also available on the Chutzpah store. So if you're interested in the
Yeah.
portraits.
Get
So
your
you
Esther,
can,
get your RBG,
I love it. My Abigail,
get your Abigail. Yeah, Abigail needs an Abigail.
I love it. That's really exciting. And I think, such a good, I remember but for my bat mitzvah, I think I got, from the sisterhood, the like Kiddush cup or Shabbat candles and the Jewish Book of Why. But this feels like the perfect like gift that should be given on the bima, from whoever's giving the gifts, and not just from the synagogue itself, but just like this is
Yeah,
what you give every girl.
I love that. I love it. We're so touched, Tanya, and we really feel that's so important. We hope every synagogue will be giving this to their girls and to their boys. If there's one message that comes out of the book, it's not only do we need strong Jewish girls, but we need to have strong Jewish boys supporting them. We need our chutzpah champs in the world. So we hope that this will be a book that's given at many life cycle events by synagogues, by the sisterhood, and by the brotherhood too.
And I wondered if you could share, a couple of things that maybe surprised you or stick with you, from doing all the research on this book.
Sure. Well, Tanya, I love what you said about the fact that we do need, stories of positivity and resilience, especially at this point in time. I mean, as mothers, we've had to have the most impossible conversations with our kids this year, and having the opportunity to research and write these stories and be reminded of the fact that, Jews, but Jewish women have always had this strength and this resilience, and they've overcome really dark moments before. Was very inspiring to us during this time, and also gave us the strength to connect to our children in a more positive way. I think what surprised me was the stories where it seemed that in some areas there was never a glass ceiling and women just got up and did what they wanted to do. One particular story that comes to mind is the story about the printers. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, but it's a story that focuses on a few Jewish women in Europe throughout the Middle Ages, including Estelina Conat, Dvorah Rom, and they were the women that at the dawn of the printing revolution took charge of printing and disseminating Jewish books. And so safeguarding our Jewish texts and controlling what books were going to be published and spread. And, we often think of the written word in the Jewish world being controlled primarily by men, but women actually had tremendous influence in selecting the books that were going to be published and sold. And they were incredible businesswomen as well. They made a lot of money doing it. And so I think to me that was extremely surprising, and a very proud moment to discover that.
That's huge. I love that.
I think it's very, natural, Tanya, in this moment in time that we're living in, to feel so isolated and so despairing and so alone. Every news story that comes in, every headline, every post. And I think that what this book allows us to do is to draw out and to not see this as an isolated moment, but to understand that it's Jewish women throughout history who have faced moments very similar to the one that we're facing today. And they brought all their courage and their daring and their chutzpah to overcome it. And so you encounter this moment differently after reading a book like this. You understand that we are very much not alone, that we as Jewish women have met these moments before. We know how to overcome challenge, and we know how to go on and not only survive and thrive. And I'll share with you one story that continues to surprise and amaze me. You mentioned that your daughter Abigail is interested and Yiddish. And I'll share with you a little bit about a really remarkable Yiddish speaking woman. Her name was Gluckel of Hameln. She was born in 1646 in Germany. At the age of 14, she gets married, and she marries a merchant, and they go on and they build a successful business, and they have 14 children together.
Wow.
And her husband suddenly passes away unexpectedly, and she's left with a business to run and 14 children to raise on her own as a single woman. And she does this, and you would think that a woman like this would simply despair, she would crumble, she would fade away into oblivion, but she does something really remarkable. She picks up a pen and she starts writing, and she writes her story, and she does so over a series of volumes. And at the time, she has no intention to publish these books, but today they are among the most historically significant artifacts that we have of a Jewish woman living in the 17th century. And what you'll find when you read these volumes is that they'll remind you of you, Tanya. They'll remind you of the women that you know. She's writing about faith. She's writing about hardship. She's writing about joy and pain and resilience. And I think that what her story reminds me is that we're bigger than we can ever imagine ourselves to be, that we can stretch ourselves, that we can be bigger and more powerful and more present and more courageous than we ever thought possible.
Amazing. So beautiful. Makes me think too, I mean, we're
Elements that surprised both of us throughout this research was also that these women who were often immigrants didn't just find the courage to fit in, but they often found the courage to take on the most powerful people wherever they lived. So, Donna Grazia Nassi, who I mentioned before, eventually she leaves Spain and Portugal, and she orchestrates a boycott against the Pope, the most powerful figure in Europe. She orchestrates a boycott of his private harbor and causes financial ruin to get him to release Jewish hostages, Jewish captives that they had taken, and imprisoned. And then, you think of just the psychological shift that needs to happen. A woman who was born in hiding, who kept her Jewish identity in hiding for most of her youth and adult life, then all of a sudden has the courage to move to a different country and take on the most influential man in Europe. Another example is Eliza Davis, who was a stay-at-home mom of 10, an immigrant from Jamaica who moves to the UK and moves into Charles Dickens' home. Charles Dickens at the time was the most celebrated and most influential author in the UK. The Jews in the UK had only just reached emancipation. And so you think that these women would kind of keep their head down, try to just fit in. And instead, she challenges him. She writes him a letter. She calls him out on his inclusion of anti-Semitic characters in the book. She gets him to change his mind, to edit his books, to incorporate more positive Jewish characters. And so these women are really fearless, and it's remarkable to witness.
wow. That's awesome. Those are stories that I want to go deeper in. And I think it reminds me of like being a kid, and this I'm really going to date myself, but like pre-internet, there was like the Encyclopedia Britannica or whatever it was, and like it would be fun to go through those books and like learn things, and like they were beautiful, and I feel like this should be a reference book. We now have all these uses. We have bat mitzvah. I think it's a perfect Mother's Day present, but I also think it's a really important reference book, because without it, like I think this book could really be a jumping off point for, like, this could spawn a whole bunch of other books. Like, think of all these girls who now could fall in love with a chutzpah girl because they wouldn't have known her before. And you've done all this work and introduced us to all these amazing stories. And just hearing you speak, I want to go deeper into them. And I think that's a tremendous gift that you've created here. And I'm just so grateful that you took time out to meet with me and share the book. And I feel good. I feel better than I did before this call. I feel lifted by these stories, and I know that's really one of the goals. And I want to make room if there's anything else that you feel like you want people to know about you or about the book or what you hope the book will mean and do in the world.
Well, thank you, Tanya. I mean, we do want to continue telling more stories of Jewish women. We would love to have a follow-up book. We would love to do a light chapter series. We'd like to write and continue to write more. And the truth is that the true title of this book, we always joke, is not the 100 Tales of Daring Jewish Women. It's the incomplete list of daring Jewish women. I mean, 100 is nowhere near a complete list. These are women that you need to know about, and there's so many more. And we can all begin by researching and telling the stories within our own families. And please write to us and tell us, hey, you missed her, and you missed her, and please include her in future books.
I
And
love that. I love the unofficial title so much. I was afraid to ask you. I have a note here that said who's missing, and I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I love that, and I love that you're looking to all of us to share with you, and I know that's going to happen.
And
As
I
we're
do want to say that, I think that our projects are very intertwined, Tanya. I mean, you're doing such important work now with the Simchat Torah, the Simchat Torah Challenge. This is, in some ways, our book is a sequel, and the original Chutzpah Girls is the Tanakh. It really is the Torah, and that is where every reader can go and find these original Chutzpah girls, and to go back and to read these stories with a different lens, to see the chutzpah and the daring in their lives and the choices that they made.
And Tanya, you know, someone said to us at the outset of this journey, the most rewarding part about publishing a book is the people that you get to meet along the way. And it's true, including yourself. We have met so many remarkable women who have been so generous with their own stories, sharing their own chutzpah stories, their own family stories with us, and of course, the most inspiring work. So thank you for having us, and thank you for sharing your chutzpah story with us too.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure. I will share links and more information on how to find your store, how to get in touch with you to share Chutzpah Girl stories, and where to buy the book. And really, really appreciate you for being part of Beautifully Jewish today. Thank you so much.